Now with more on his investigations into the Biden administration and the executive branch. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer is with us. So your original investigation was going to involve the Biden family, their foreign business dealings. Now we have the information about top secret classified information, although this new information about Alcoa Aluminum and Hunter's offer, as confirmed in the laptop, what does that tell you about Hunter Biden and access possibly to classified top secret information? And does that sound like the type of information that he ought to be selling to Alcoa Aluminum about Russian oligarchs?
Well, our whole fear about the documents in Joe Biden's possession was that maybe some of his family members who have been involved in influence peddling with our adversaries were using those classified documents inappropriately. If they had any access to the documents and if they viewed the documents, that's illegal. Certainly, if they were trying to peddle those documents for money, that's criminal. So it also jeopardizes our national security. That's why we need to get answers to this right now. That's why we brought in the National Archives today for our very first transcribed interview.
And can you tell us what happened? Did they shed any light on any of this?
Well, right before the National Archives came in, they handed us a letter from the Department of Justice informing them and us that the General Counsel for the National Archives wasn't allowed to say anything about the Biden documents. But we went ahead and we had about a 3+ hour transcribed interview with the General Counsel. And what we learned was there is a double standard here with how Donald Trump was treated versus Joe Biden. And I'll give you an example, Sean. If you go on the National Archives website, there's pages and pages of press releases and information about the FBI's raid into Mar-a-Lago and Donald Trump's possession of classified documents. But there's nothing on the website about Joe Biden. There wasn't any press release or anything on the website about Joe Biden. So we asked the General Counsel, why were there no press releases sent on Joe Biden once it was determined that he had classified documents in his possession? And the counsel said that he did do press releases, but he was ordered and told they couldn't be published. So we then asked who gave him the orders, and he said, I can't tell you that, but there are only two people that could have given him those orders, and that's either the Department of Justice with Merrick Garland or the White House with Joe Biden. So it shows right there that this Department of Justice and this White House is interfering with this and treating Donald Trump very differently than they're treating Joe Biden.
Well, I want to hone in on that. So in the last 48 hours, the last 2 days now, we have had Jim Jordan's committee on judiciary deny documents by the Department of Justice. Now, you are being shut down in your investigation of the archives, which is critical to getting to the bottom of this. Then we have this whole issue of a double standard. We have 5 different locations where documents were found with the Bidens. Clearly, Hunter Biden, a crack addict at the time, had access to some of these documents. Nobody's had to answer for that at this point. They've never gone into whether or not why hasn't there been a prosecution in over 3 years as a result from the Hunter Biden laptop? And why are they ignoring the University of Delaware, this trove of documents that Joe Biden has there? Why didn't they raid the home of his beach house in Delaware? Why is it they didn't tell us before the November 8th midterm that, in fact, Joe Biden had top secret classified documents? Why didn't they tell us that, in fact, the FBI went to the Penn Biden Center? They treated this entirely differently than the way they treated Donald Trump, haven't they?
They have. And another question we asked was, well, why can't the White House tell us more about their documents? Are they allowed to talk about their documents? And the General Counsel for the National Archives said he didn't have any problem with the White House being transparent about what's going on with their investigation. So it's not the National Archives. It's the Department of Justice. It's Merrick Garland's Department of Justice. And remember, Sean, we wouldn't even know about the fact that Joe Biden had classified documents in his possession were it not for a leak to CBS News. So someone leaked this out. We would never have heard it from this White House. They would have covered it up forever, like all the other cover-ups they're doing with every major part of our investigation into the Biden family influence peddling.
Now, here's the interesting thing. So they knew on November 2nd that Joe Biden had top secret classified documents. They didn't tell us before the midterm. Then in the interim, they appoint a special counsel to Donald Trump, but yet they give Joe Biden the courtesy of allowing the FBI to voluntarily come in, but they don't tell us about any of that. They find the documents on November 2nd. We don't find out about that for 68 days. How should the American people interpret the treatment of a former president versus a president in light of the fact that the FBI had unfettered access to Mar-a-Lago? They were in the very room where the documents at Mar-a-Lago were found. The FBI could have asked to take in any of those documents when they were there, invited in by President Trump. They just decided not to take them and asked for a padlock to be put on the door and then raided the place with guns drawn. How do the American people juxtapose all of that and say we have equal justice?
Well, I think the American people are seeing that this White House, at the very least, is not being transparent. But another fact that proves the White House is trying to obstruct our investigation and treating, again, former President Trump very differently than they're being treated themselves is the fact that we requested the same type of information on Joe Biden that my predecessor, Democrat Chairwoman Maloney, requested on Donald Trump. National Archives gave them every bit of information she requested on Donald Trump, but they never gave me any information. And once again, the reasoning was the general counsel said he printed all the information, he answered all our questions, but he wasn't allowed to turn it over to us. So once again, the only people that could prohibit him from answering our request was either the Department of Justice or the White House.
All right, last question. We know that Joe Biden lied when he never spoke to his son Hunter or any family member about their foreign business dealings. I think you would concur. We have photographic evidence. We have times and places of meetings, et cetera. We have the testimony of Tony Bobulinski, the comments that he's made publicly. So my question is, did Hunter Biden in his laptop, when he said he gives half his income to Pops, when he complains about paying for Pop's home repairs, when he talks about 10% for the big guy, and Bobulinski saying the big guy is Joe Biden, do you have any doubt, and will you be able to prove that Joe Biden profited from his son's foreign business dealings?
That's a big part of our investigation. That's why we need the bank records. We've spoken to several people, several whistleblowers that have said that Hunter Biden was paying for a lot of Joe Biden's daily living expenses. But once we get those bank records, we'll be able to determine whether or not that's a fact.
All right, James Comer, we're watching every day. Appreciate you being with us.